Here at Norman Shutters, we have a number of different types of shutter applications. Today we're going to be looking at the direct mount. Notice we have our panels that we've taken out of the box, and we're utilizing the foam against the wall so that the panels don't scratch or mar the wall. Down below we've taken our frames, our light blocks that are going to be used in the direct mount on the inside of the window. You'll note that we have them away from the installation area as not to trip over them. We're going to start by taking the left side panel, placing it in the window, sliding it over, using a shim to center it in the window. Once we've found the center of the window with the panel, we can mark the bottom of the upper hinge with the pencil. Again, remembering we've already taken the liberty to attach the loose leaf part of the hinge with the hinge pin. Mark it down below and remove the panel. Now we'll remove the hinge pin. Simply push up on the hinge pin and remove the pin. Once the pin is removed, take the loose leaf part of the hinge, put it against the wall, keeping in mind there is a spot on this hinge that will allow you to get flush with the window. That spot is right here on the hinge half itself. If you line that up with the window in accordance with the line we just drew, we can now begin to install the hinge half. You can do one of two things. You can mark the hinge in the center of the adjusting part of the hinge. Do not install or mark this part of the hinge hole until this is complete. First, we can begin by starting a hole for the screw that is going to be placed in the hinge. Take your scratch awl, your hammer, and make a small mark. Now that we've made our mark, and now that we've started a hole, we can simply place the screw in the hole and start that hole. This will make it a lot easier for this loose leaf part of the hinge to be installed. Place the loose leaf part of the hinge up into the window, start the screw where we started the hole, and go ahead and install this section of the hinge. We can go ahead and install the bottom screw. Now that these screws are installed, we can go ahead and install the panel. Place the panel in the loose leaf half of the hinge and install the hinge pin. Open the panel carefully and mark the bottom hinge right in the center of the hinge that we're going to be installing. Pre-drill the hinge right at the mark that we made. This will allow our screws to be installed precisely where we want them to be. Once the hinge is pre-drilled, simply place the other screw into the hole where we pre-drilled and tighten. Take your other screw and place it below. And check to make sure that this is flush. Again, we may need to adjust up and down on the panel so that the panel does not scrape against the window. do this, we can loosen the screws. And adjust up. Place the shim in the window until we center the window in the opening. Once the window is centered in the opening, mark the shim as a reference guide for the other side. Now that we've installed the left, we'll install the right. With the left out of the way, we can go ahead and place the right side panel into the window. Again, using our shim with the line that we made as a guide, place the panel in the window at the line and mark the window. Now we remove our shim, take the panel down, and simply remove the hinge pin from the window. Again, using our foam against the wall. Now we can take the loose leaf part of the hinge, place it in the window in reference to the markings on the hinge itself. Now that we've made our marks, we can pre-drill our holes. Now that we've pre-drilled our holes, we can place a screw in the hole and center the hinge with our pre-drilled holes. Once this is done, we can now take our panel, place it in the window, and insert the hinge pin. Again, carefully open the window, reference the hinge so that it's flush to the wall, and pre-drill your hole. Now with the holes pre-drilled, simply place a screw into the hinge hole. Now we can check to make sure that our panel moves freely in the window. If adjustment is needed, again, simply back the screws out, raise the panel, if we need to raise the panel, and tighten it. Now that the panels are installed and in position where we want them, we're ready for the light blocks. Please note that the light blocks have their magnet plates on them. Now we'll place the light block in the opening, close the panel to the light block, and reference the panel to the window. Once the panel is where we want it, we can now install the light block. Your nail gun or your screw, go ahead and set that light block. Now we can bring each side flush to the panel from the back side. Simply push it up against the panel and nail it down. And do the same thing for the right side. Once we've established where that light block needs to be, we can open the panels and install the top. Once the light block is placed in the window, we can reference its position with the panel. Once we know the position, we can now nail it into the window. Now, repeating what we did below, we can bring the light block from behind flush to the panel. Holding that in position, and then repeat the same for the left. Simply close the panel, push the light stop to the back, and nail it. Now that the top and bottom are nailed, the panels operate freely, we can do do the left and the right. Now we're going to install the left light block. First we'll line up the bottom and make sure that the left is flush with the bottom. And we'll nail that. Then we'll come to the top and make sure it's flush with the top. And nail that. Making sure that the light block is up against the hinge, we can nail it now to the wall. Place one in the middle if you need to. Now that the bottom and the left and the top light blocks have been installed, we'll go ahead and install the right. Again, line the light block up flush with the bottom light block, nail it. Line the light block flush with the top, and nail it. Again, rest the light block up against the hinges, and nail them, and put one in the middle if we need to. Simply rub the putty stick in the nail hole until it's filled, and do that for the rest of the nail holes. And the installation for the direct mount now complete. Now that all of the light blocks are installed, we can now fill the nail holes. Using your putty stick, simply rub the putty stick in the nail hole until it's filled, and do that for the rest of the nail holes. And the installation for the direct mount is now complete.